Namasarvebhyaha. We'll start with the fourth session of Shivaleelarnavam. Namasundaranathaya tasmai halasya vasine chatushashti vidha leela yenakari bhuvasthale Shrimat Sundaranathaya nathasya devim shapharalochanam kalaye hridaye nityam kadamba vanavasinim Putam swataf putataram tatoyat gangam payas shankara mauli sangat tatpatu mataf pranayaparadha padahateif putatamam tato naha. We are still in the introductory part of Nilakanta Dikshita's Shivaleelarnavam, and he is still in the Namaskaratmakam portion where he has till now he has given the first shloka was his salutations to the mother's feet, Matuhu Charanam. The second was how he could, there was a dilemma I was telling about how he could attain both of their, both Shiva and Parvati's grace at the same time. So he was talking about their manas, antahkaranam, which is common to both of them in the Ardhanari Swarupa. Even though you can distinguish between the different angas that he has, still the manas or the antahkaranam would be the same. And then in the third and fourth, he again spoke about Devi's third, he spoke about her eyes. And then in the fourth, we saw Stanyena Kaschit Kavayam Babhuva Tambula Sarena Parojananyaha Aham Tatopi Unnatim Aptukamaha Seve Tatopi Unnatam Akshikonam. Now, this shloka, he slowly enters into the kavyam in the sense that he is praying for what? Now he has to come to how people have attained that kavitvam based on Devi's, because of Devi's grace. And he is also wishing for that kavitvam from her. Yet he is talking of an utkrishta sthanam, much more than what people have gotten before, and so he is also looking for something more utkrishtam than what people have gotten. So Stanyena Kaschit Kavayam Babhuva, somebody became a poet because of her milk, which is, he was talking about Jnana Sambandha, or we could also take it as Shankara Bhagavatpada. And then the next one was Tambula Sarena Paraha. Because of Tambulam, another person became a poet because of her beetle juice, which is, one is Kalamega Pulavar, the other was Kalidasa. There is an account about Mukha Kavi also, that he received her Tambulam, and he also became a poet because of that. That is not very clear from the accounts that are there, yet because it says Tambula Saram, and there is a reference to it in Saundarya Lahari, where he says Kada Kale Mata Kataya Kalitalakta Karasam Pibeyam Vidyarthi Tava Charana Nirnejana Jalam Mukanam Apicha Kavita Karanataya. Because the last sentence goes as Mukanam Apicha Kavita Karanataya Tambula Rasatam, and that Tambula Rasam becomes a reason, Kavita Karanam. Kesham Mukanam api, even those people who are unable to speak, they start becoming a poet, and that Kavitva Karanam is your Tambula Rasam. And there the mention is about Mukha Kavi, and so this portion can also mean Mukha Kavi. Wishing to attain something much more higher than what the other two poets have gotten, Nilakanta Dikshita wants to serve Seve Tatopi Unnatim Aptukamaha Tadubabhyam api Uparitanat Katakshat Anugraham Praptum Kavihi Tat Utkrishtam Sthanam Akshikonam Sevate. Now we'll move on to the next one. Now he starts, the next two shlokas are Guru Namaskara. So till now we've had, for 4 shlokas we had Devata Namaskaram. Then is Guru Namaskaram. Now, without a guru's anugraha, nothing is going to happen. You may have bhagyam, you may have all your planets in the proper place in your jatakam, everything is fine. But then if Guru Kripa is absent, then nothing is going to work. So he starts off with Guru Anugraha here with 2 shlokas. One is for Girvana Yogindra. The next one is to his salutations to Apaya Dikshita. So this one is Ardhe Tanoho Adrisuta Mayo Asmi Iti Aham Yuna Kim Phalam Adiyuna Girvana Yogindra Mupasmahetam Sarvatmana Shailasutatmako Yaha. Yaha Sarva Shaila Yaha Sarvatmana Shailasuta Atmakaha Tam Girvana Yogindram Upasmahe. Upasmahe is again as a we. In Tamil also yam iti, we use in Tamil that royal we, or even in English we say it is royal we. So tatra vayam iti, it is only indicative of that person. Tarhi atra vayam iti kavehe eva suchana vidyate. Tathapi he uses that plural. It is only one singular, but then it is a style of using that, and it is also a way of I feel it is always a way of including us also towards that. So vayam upasmahe iti, he takes in every bhakta who is there, right? So vayam upasmahe, I serve, or I upasanam karomi. I meditate upon my guru, who is Girvana Yogindra, or I worship my guru. Upasana is more like a worship. So upasmahe vayam shailasutatmakaha Girvana Yogindra. Before we go to the second part, I'll first look at the first sentence, which is a very interesting way of saying a guru occupies a much more higher sthanam than the devata. Ardhe tanoho, that's the idea in the first shloka. So ardhe tanoho. Now how is Shiva here? Shiva has Parvati in only one half of his body. Right? Ardhe tanoho ardhe. In one tanoho sharirasya ardhe. In one half of his body. Adrisuta mayaha. Adrisuta mayaha ityatra adrisuta atmakaha eva asmi iti. Mayat is a pratyayam here, which is used in swartha or prachuryartham. Also you can use mayat here. It is a pratyaya that is used there. So adri suta mayaha, adrehe suta, adri suta parvati, parvati eva iti parvati mayaha, adri suta mayaha. So it is swarte mayat pratyaya. Swarte in the sense, the one half of his body is completely only Parvati. So adrisuta mayaha tanoho ardhe asmi iti. Now this has given a little bit of arrogance for Shiva, it seems. This is poetic beauty that he is trying to express here. So tanoho ardhe adrisuta mayaha asmi iti aham yuna. Aham yuna is ahankara yuktena shivena. That ahamyu is an adjective to Shiva. The word for Shiva here is Adiyuva, Adiyuna by Shiva. Adiyuva is Adibhutaha Yuva. Purana Tarunaha Sarvada Saha Taruna Eva. Tasya aparam nama Harikeshaha iti. It's another name for him, where Kesha is hair and Hari is black. So his hair is always black. So Harikesha, that is one level of meaning. There is another, there are about 15-14 meanings for the word Harikesha. But one of that meaning is Purana Tarunaha. He is always ever young. Adi Yuna, by the first Yuvaka, by the first person who can be termed as a youth, Saha Shivaha. So Adi Yuna Shivena, Purana Tarunena Shivena, Tasya Ahankaraha Asti. Kidrishaha Ahankaraha Tanoho Ardhe Adrisutamayaha Asmi. Half of my body is completely Parvati. That is the Ahankaram he has. Tarhi Tena Kim Phalam. Kavi is not bothered about it. Nilakanta Dikshita says, what is the purpose of this? If only half of your body is like that. My guru Yogindra, Girvana Yogindra, Sarvatmana Shailasata Atmakaha. In his entirety, the entire body and inside his soul, Atma api tatra Shailasuta eva asti saha. There is no difference there between Girvana Yogindra and Parvati Shakti. So because he is a mantra guru for Nilakanta Dikshita, as I pointed out initially in the introduction slide, in an introduction class, in Apaya Dikshita Vijayendra, I mean, what is that? Sorry. Apaya Dikshitendra Vijayam is a text that is a biography on Dikshita. And in that, there is a small passage about Nilakanta Dikshita. His story is given there. I will just read out from that so that it's easier to understand how Girvana Yogindra is the mantra guru. Apaya Dikshitendranam Niryana Anantaram Pandyapurim Gachanna Ayam. He was going to Pandyapuri towards Madurai after the death of Apaya Dikshita. Madhye Patam Trishirafpure in Trichy. Trishirafpura is Tiruchirappalli, where Kaveryam Chintamani Ghatte. Chintamani Ghat is one of the places in Kaveri where Sthana Utthitaha, after taking a bath, Bhasita Bhava Aksha Bhushitaha, wearing all the Bhasma and Akshamala, Haste Dhritva, Babuva, Nilakanta Dikshitaha. Tada yadrichaya agataha parameshwari prasadasya bhajani bhutaha Girvana Yogindraha. Yadrichaya, he just came there, and it was very evident from his personality. As soon as you see someone, it's very evident sometimes that whether he is an Upasaka, Sri Vidya Upasaka, athava Gayatri Mantra Upasaka, it is easy if we also have that sort of a mantra balam and we are able to recognize the other person. So, Yadrichaya Agataha Parameshwari Prasadasya Bhajani Bhutaha. It was very evident that he had the grace of Parvati, Shakti. Yogindraha Devi Prasada Janakam Mahamantram Asmai Vatave Samupadishya Tirodade. So, he gave the mantram for the Nilakanta Dikshita and he disappeared. Hence, he says, Shivaleelarnavam Kavimanihi Ayam Tam Mantra Gurum Neva Stauti. So, this is that Shloka where he talks about his Mantra Guru Girvana Yogindra. Now, the Girvana Yogindra, Yaha Sarvatmana Shailasuta Atmakaha, Yaha, that Guru, Sarvatmana, Sampurnataya, Shailasuta Atmakaha, Shailasuta Himotputri. Himotputri eva Atma Yasya. Atma in different places has been pointed out as Shariram, Athava Manaha, Buddhihi, and the Atma Swarupa. So you can indicate in Bhagavatam, or if you take even in Gita, at places you will have to interpret Atma as either the Shariram, or in certain places you take it as Manas, in certain places you take it as Buddhi, in certain places you take it as the Adhisthana Bhutam for all these three Sharirams, which is Stula Shariram, Sukshma Sharira and Karana Sharira. So there is Adhisthana Bhuta Atmanyapi Atma iti Vyapadeshaha asti. Sharire api Atma iti Vyapadeshaha asti. There is the way Nilakanta Dikshita perceived his guru, when he says Sarvatmana na kevalam Shariram tatra antahkaranam api Tadanantaram tasya sayujyamapi asite iti vaktum atra sarvatmana shaila suta atmakaha guruhu iti vadati. Right? To say that he is completely of the form of Parvati, that is what he wants. To say that he is a little bit better than Shiva. Shivasya tu ahankaraha kidrishaha Ardhe tanoho ardhe eva adrisutamayaha iti tasya ahankaraha vidyate kintu asmakam guruhu sarvatmana eva parvati mayaha. But he doesn't talk about that ahankaram for his guru here, right? So he says, I go to my guru upasmahe tam Girvana Yogindram upasmahe. So I'll just do it once more time. So tanoho ardhe adrisutamayaha asmi. I am completely filled with, or I am of the form of Parvati. This is the sort of ahankara that Shiva has. Iti ahamyuna ahankara yuktena adi yuna purana yuvakena Shivena kim phalam. Kim phalam ityukte, what is the purpose of Shiva having such an ahankara? The word ahamyu is a peculiar word in the sense Panini has reserved one sutram for two words, ahamyu and shubhamyu. Panini's greatness is such that, you know, he has the entire dictionary probably, or the vocabulary, Sanskrit vocabulary in his mind, and suddenly, you know, he will start writing sutras and suddenly one word will ring a bell there and it will say, you know, I am in trouble, and he will immediately have to put a sutram for that. So in such cases, this is this is one such example. There is a sutram, aham shubhamoho yus iti aham iti shabdasya shubham iti shabdasya cha anantaram yus iti pratyayah tatra agacchati. Katham? So aham is actually not your asmat shabda here. It is an avyaya. The same way shubham is also an avyaya padam. It is not your napunsakalinga prathama vibhakti and all that. Both aham and shubham are two avyayas, and aham is an avyaya which is representative of the ahankara. Aham iti ahankararthe avyaya shabdah. Shubham is also shubharthe, it is another avyayam, and you use yus where in the sense of yunakti yuktaha ityarthe. So ahanka aham asya asti iti aham yuhu. Tari ahankara yuktaha ityartha. I have to use certain grammar things to explain certain words, even though most of his words are very simple. Nilakanta Dikshita will put in such difficult words for us to improve our own vocabulary. That's how I feel. So ahamyuna adiyuna kim phalam. What is the purpose of the primary youth, Shiva, the first youth, who is extremely prideful that he is of the form of Parvati in only one half of his body? Full is better than half, right? So tari yaha, we worship vayam upasmahe. Kam upasmahe, tam yogindram, girvana yogindram eva upasmahe. We worship only that girvana yogindra, yaha, who in all aspects, sarvatmana, adrisuta mayaha, in all aspects he is of the form of Parvati. That is Adri Sutamayaha, Shaila Sutamayaha, both are the same here. If he had repeated the word, then it would have been Punarukti Dosha. So he has changed Adri to Shaila in the second part. Just to keep the continuity also, to say, you know, that even though Shiva has only half, my Guru is filled with her and he has already attained Sayujya, and so he is doing Upasana to him. In Bhagavatam, in the Dashamaskandam, 80 and 81st chapter is Sudama, the episode of Sudama and Krishna. So it describes how Krishna lived in Sandipani Ashrama and the incident of how they were stranded during the night and they were together and all that. And it was the Guru who came and rescued them. So at the end of it, Krishna says, Guror anugrahenaiva Guror anugrahenaiva pumana purnaha prashantaye. Guror anugrahenaiva pumana purnaha prashantaye. So it is only due to the grace of Guru. You may have attained Ashtama Siddhi, everything, that is fine. Parantu purnaha pumana kada bhavati prashantaye. In order for all the manovrittis to completely go away and you to revel in that Atma Swarupam, Purnaha Pumana Bhavitavya iti chet tatra guroho anugrahenaiva bhavati. Evakarena, he just stresses there that you cannot get it otherwise. So Guru's anugraham, Guru Kripa atyavashyaki bhavati. Ardhe tanoho adrisuta mayaha asmi iti ahamyana kim phalam adiyuna girvana yogindram upasmahetam sarvatmana shailasuta atmakaha yaha. Now the next shloka, he offers his, he doesn't say namaskaraha, he has given namaskaram to Ape Dikshita in all of his many other stotras. Every stotra grantham, every text that he talks about, he will offer his salutations to Apaya Dikshita. And here he just mentions again the difference between Shiva and his guru. Kalena Shambhu kila tavatapi kalas chatushashti mitaha praninye dvasaptatim prapya samah prabandhan shatam vyadhat Apaya Dikshitendraha. Now, I have not mentioned any of the meters for all of these shlokas. You can easily identify these because it follows either Upajati or Indravajra. You can analyze it, and if you find difficulties, you can ask me later. Kalena Shambhu kila tavatapi kalas chatushashtimitaf praninye dvasaptatim prapya samah prabandhan shatam vyadhat Apaya Dikshitendraha. Shambhu kila tavatapi kalena kalaha shashti chatushashtimitaha eva praninye. You take that evakara as an adhyaharya padam. Adhyaharya padam is something you take which is adrishtam padam adhyakriyate. Any word that you need for explanation which is not present in the shloka, you try to take it and for a better explanation, right? So that is an adhyaharyam here. Shambhu kila, or you can use kila also, which is fine. Now, what is the meaning? Total meaning here is Shiva had so much of time in hand. Lord Shiva had tavata kalena. He had so much of time in his hand, and yet he only could, perform 64 kalas, 64 leela. Kalaha atra leelaha, leela paryayavachi. He only showed for 64 different arts or 64 different divine sports that he showed to people. But he had so much of time on hand. Whereas my guru, Apaya Dikshitendraha, dvasaptatim prapya, he only had 72 years. Dvasaptatim samaha prapya. He had only 72 years in hand. Samaha varsha. Years, varshan dva saptatim, dvya adhika saptatim samaha varshan prapya. Jivita avadhim prapya. His lifespan was only 72 years, yet he wrote shatam prabandhan vyadhat. Shatam prabandhan granthan vyadhat saha rachayamasa. He wrote hundreds. Actually, it is 104 granthas. Some say it could be 108, but the available number and the names of the granthas that have been written by Apaya Dikshita is 104 as of now. 104 is the number that we have, and the variety of subjects that he has handled is just simply mind-boggling. There is no this thing about it, on one side he has Chitramimamsa and Kuvalayananda on Sahityam. He has Kavyams, he has Stotra Granthas, Mimamsa Granthas. There are Advaita Granthas, Shivadvaita Grantha, Shaiva Siddhanta Granthas. So the range of texts that he has dealt, the range of subjects on which his texts are present is just simply beyond our understanding. So, which is 72 years. Because we've had Adi Shankara, who is also with this 32 years, he has written so many granthas there. And Nilakanta Dikshita praising his own guru, he is talking about the difference between Shambhu and Apaya Dikshita. So, Tavata api kalena, this Tavata, Tavat Shabda, Tatparimana Vishishtarthe, Tavat Shabdasya Trilingata. So, when you are talking about the parimanam of a certain object, then you use tavat in all of those lingam, depending on what it qualifies. Here, kalaha iti pullinga vachanam, pullinga shabdaha, tari tavan kalaha, tari tavata kalena. Iti trilinge api vaktum shakyate. You can do that. Now, what is this parimanam that you are talking about? Tavat shows the parimanam of the word it qualifies. The word here is kalaha. Tavan is used as an adjective for the word kala. Kala itself is anadhyanantam. Kalasya parimanam kiyat bhavet, kiyan bhavet. And that is completely anadi and anantam. There are 5 things that you say as anadi, karma, kala. In Advaita Vedanta, you have this. Even in Tarka Sangraha, the definition for kala is ekaha vibhuhu nityaha in Tarka Siddhantam. So ekaha, it is one, it is a constant. Vibhuhu vyapi, sarva vyapi api asti. Tadanantaram nityaha ityuktam. Nityaha Pragabhava Pratiyogi, Apratiyogitvam, Pragabhava Apratiyogitvam, Dhamsa Apratiyogitvam. Please don't put this in your mind. Suddenly it just came to my mind and I said this. That is not necessary. Nityam means it does not have a beginning, nor does it have an end. So Anadi Anantam. What is the measure of kalam here? Kalaha will mean unlimited. Now, tavan kalaha, if I use tavat as an adjective to kala, then it will qualify the exact parimanam of that object. Or when I say tavat yavat, if I say for an example, if I have to say yavat pustakam asti tavat aham janami. Yavat pustakam, if I say parimanam, or how much ever the book has, whatever is there in the book, I have memorized the entire thing. So that is that parimanam. The book is only of a limited parimanam, whereas kalam has an unlimitedness to it. So that tavan kalaha, when I say that entire parimanam, entire parimanam is going to be taken with the word tavata kalena. And Ishvara Adhinameva, Ishvara has that entire kalam within his hand. So Tavatapi Kalena Shambhuhu, during such an extent of eternal time that Shiva has under his control, Shambhuhu. Now, how many sports did he perform? So, what are the 64 divine sports? Leelaha. Chatushshashti mitaha. Mitaha ityukte parimitaha eva. So Chatushshashti parimitaha eva leelaha athava kalaha praninye chakara. Pranayati, nayati, pranayati. So praninye would mean, I think pranayate in Atmanepada will give you in litlakara, it is praninye. Praninye kila. Kila, it would say khalu. Athava, indeed, you can say Chatushshashti mitaha kalaha eva tena acharitam kalu, acharitaha kalu iti. He could perform only 64 with that eternal time in his hand. Now, whereas, on the other hand, Appaya Dikshitendraha, Pitamaha, Kavehe Pitamaha, Guruhu cha, Saha, Dvasaptatim Prapya, Dviadhika Saptati, 72. 72 Samaha Prapya, that is in Dvitiya Bahuvachanam. So Samaha Varshana Prapya. Prapya ityukte, he got 72. It doesn't mean that he got 72 years. It means his tasya jivita avadhim dvasaptati varshaha yavat asit. So after having 72 years, lived 72 years, he composed more than 100 works. We will take Shatam Prabandhane iti Shatadhikana Prabandhane Saha Arachayat iti. Okay. So Vyadhat. Kalena Shambhuhu Kila Tavatapi. The Adhyaharya Padam that I was talking about was Chatushshashti mitaha eva praninye. I can use that evakara as a Padam that I bring in to explain the limitedness of that 64 kalas that Shambhu performed. Whereas to give that vyatireka, to give that difference between Appaya Dikshita and Shiva, we will, Kila can also be used in the sense of Eva, saying he could only perform this, right? You know, so we may not need that Adhyahara Padam is what I was saying. There was a question, so I thought I'll address that. Dvasaptatim prapya samaha prabandham shatam vyadhat appaya dikshitendraha. The only alankara here I see is vyatireka alankaraha. Shambhu apekshaya appaya dikshitasya adhikya varnanat atra vyatireka alankaraha iti vaktum shaknumaha. Okay, so we'll go on to the next shloka. Anahato udbhutam apasta bhedam Adyam Shivasya Aupayikam Vidhatuhu Nadabhidam Paragam Advanam Tad Anuttaram Jyotihi Anusmaramaha Anahata Udbhutam Apasta Bhedam Adyam Shivasya Aupayikam Vidhatuhu Nadabhidam Paragam Advanam Tad Anuttaram Jyotihi Anusmaramaha. Tat Jyotihi Anusmaramaha. Next, the Kavi is his Guru Namaskara, Devata Namaskara is over, Guru Namaskaram is done. Now he is worshipping that Jyotis Swarupam, which is the Moola Karanam for every Shabda in this world. Tat Jyotihi Anusmaramaha, Anusmaramaha Paschat Smaramaha, Atava Anusandhana Rupena Smaramaha. Only if you continuously do Anusandhanam of the Shabda Brahmam is it possible to write so many kavyams and in such a beautiful manner too. So he offers his dhyanam. He says he will meditate upon that Jyotis Swarupam. Tad Jyotihi Anuswaramaha. Kim tad Jyotihi? Nada Abhidam. Nadaha iti Abhida Yasya Nadakhyam. It is called Nada. You cannot translate Nada. Please put this as one of your untranslatable words. So it's Nada is a word that has to be experienced. It is not sound, it is not mere sound, or it is not a resonating sound. None of the English words can even compare to this. There is no other Sanskrita word also for Nada. That is why he says Nada iti Abhida Yasya. It is called Nada. Even Sanskritam cannot find a word for Nadam. You'll have to experience that Nadam. Maybe I can say Shabda Brahmamayam Tejaha iti Prayaha Vaktum Shakyate. Shabda Brahma iti. I can probably say that Nada. How is this Nadam? What is this Nadam? There are many technical terms in this shloka which requires a longer explanation. I'll try as much as possible to give that, starting with the first word, Anahatam. So this Jyotis Swarupam that we are talking about is Shabda which has not yet come to even the throat. It is present in the Hridayam. Shabda Brahma, in Advaita Vedanta, we talk of Brahma Swarupam as the Adhishtana Bhutam for the entire world, and Jagad Abhinnatvam cha Tatra Adhishtana Bhuta Atmani Uktam. In the sense, it is non-different from its karyam. From this Atma Swarupam, there is a Maya associated with it, and the entire world is created. This world is not different from the Adhishtana Bhutam. For example, you have Swarnam, and that Swarnam, you take that gold and make it into different objects like bangle, earring, necklace, and all these things. And these Karya Bhutam, Karya Jatam is completely non-different, abhinnam from its Adhishtana Bhutam, which is Swarnam. They are both equal, they are the same. Tatha, Sarvasyapi Shabdasya Adhishtana Bhutam Ekam Brahmamayam Vidyate. There is a substratum for every sound that emanates in this world, which is like that Brahma Swarupa, which is that Brahma Swarupa. If we are talking about a sound world, then you have Shabda Brahma as the Adhishtanam or the substratum for all the sounds in the world. That Adhishtana Bhutam is called Nada. It is also a Jyotis Swarupam. It is the same as Parabrahma. Jagataha Adhishtana Bhutam Parabrahma iti chete atra Shabda Prapanchasya Adhishtana Bhutam Shabda Brahma Athava Nada. Or Omkara. Another word for it is something which we all know. You can say Om. Omkaraha Nadasya Paryayavachi iti Vaktum Shakyate. Okay. Now I'm fine. So now the other word for Nada is Omkara. Everything you can fit Shabda Brahma, you can fit an Nadam, and it will also explain Omkara here. So the first word, the first adjective, everything else is an adjective for nada abhidam tat jyotihi anusmaramaha. The first adjective he says is anahata udbhutam. Anahata, a simple meaning for anahatam is yatra ahatam na vidyate, or ahatena udbhutam na iti anahatam. Ahatam is hitting. Literal meaning for ahata is asamantat hanyate athava tadyate. So you can say that when sound has to be produced, it comes from the throat, kantha, talu. You must have read in some basic, if you have some knowledge of basic pronunciation, then you will know that the words, the letters in the akshara samamnaya is separated in according to sthanam, sthana prayatnam, right? So wherever the sound hits and comes out, the sound, the effect of the sound differs because of the sparsha, because of where it touches and comes out. Tari ahatena udbhutam shabda prapancham, that which we see, which is the sthula prapancham. You can correlate it to the srishti krama in the same manner. Just as how a word that comes out of my mouth is extremely clear or prakatam. It is let's say it is not something that is, it is the gross sound that we see, like stula shabdaha. So that stula shabdam which comes out is ahatam. It is beaten, or it comes because of touching with other organs. Kantha, talu, oshta, ityadi vyaparena ahatam. That is your outer shabdam that you see. But this shabda prapanchasya adharabhutam adharabhutaha yaha shabdaha vidyate satu sukshmaha shabdaha anahatam. It is not hit. That is talvadi oshtadi vyaparena manasi vyaparena vina manasi eva vasanatmaka rupena ya shabdaha vidyate sa shabda rupaha eva atra anahata udbhutam iti uktam. So I will come to that anahatam hridaya chakram later. That is the next level of explanation. So this anahatam, the first explanation is shabdaha dvividaha vidyate ahata anahata bhedat. Prathamam ahataha ityukte chet tatra jihvagra athava madhya jihvayaha madhyam yatra kutrapi ahanyate tasmat karanat shabdaha utpadyate. And then aghata anukulena prayatnena tatra janyaha shabdaha. This is called vaikhari. So in Shakta Sampradayam or in Tantra Siddhantam, we have 4 types of Shabda, which is Para Pratyakshiti Rupa, Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama, and Vaikhari. Vaikhari is your Sthula Bhutam Shabda, which comes because of your tongue touching certain places and the sound emanating from inside. That is Ahatam. That is Vaikhari. That corresponds to Vaikhari in Tantra Siddhanta. The next one is Pashyanti. Pashyanti is something more sukshmam than that. We are looking at Para, which is Anahata. There are several levels that the Shabda goes through from Anahatam to Ahatam. Anahata is that which is present in the Hridayam. It is not yet come out. It is there as Vasanatmakam. You can think of it in this manner. Let's say a child does not speak until the age of 5. Now, there are children, if you have gone through, if you have seen children around you, you will know that some kids do not speak until the age of 3. Some do not speak until the age of 5. It doesn't mean that they don't have those words. They have that Shabda Swarupam in their mind. It is also present as a Vasanatmakam because this Jiva has traveled from so many other Janmas and it has come here. It also has all of those as a latent impression in its mind, in its Sukshma Shariram. So these are present in that child. It doesn't mean it is not able to vocalize those words. Doesn't mean that it doesn't understand. You say, you talk to that child, it will respond appropriately. But it may not be able to vocally respond. Tari shabdaha nasti iti na tesham manasi vidyate vasanatmaka rupena vidyate ityeva. Tavat. That shabdam, that sound which is present in the mind is anahatam. It is still not gone through the process of vocalizing. It has not been hit by different parts in the mouth. Tari anahata. Anahata udbhutam. One aspect is that. The other is anahatam, anahatakyam tatpadmam munibihi parikirtitam shabda brahmamayam. This is present in Devi Bhagavata Puranam. I will just quote a couple of shlokas from the Devi Bhagavatam where he describes what this anahatam is. It is a chakram which is in the hridayam. The place for it is in hridayam. It is a dvadasha dala atmakam padma rupena vidyate. And that chakram, we have 6 chakras in the body. Mooladhara, Manipura, Swadhisthana, Manipura, Anahata, Vishuddhi, Ajna, Sahasrara. These are the 6 chakras in our body. These are the energy centers in our body. And this Anahatam is present in the Hridayam. It is also called the Marutsthanam or Anilam. Hridi Marutam, Akasham Upari. The concept of these chakras and what tattvas are present in those chakras are also very, very logical. In the sense, this pranavayu, the shabda brahma, which is the adhisthana bhutam for everything, is like the pranavayu. And so the marut tattvam is responsible for the anahatam or the hridaya chakra, which is called anahatam. So tadurdhva anahatam padmam udyat aditya sannibham. It is like a rising sun. That is why here also he talks about tad jyotihi. He says tad jyotihi. It is like the form of a surya. Aditya sannibham kadi thanta dalaihi arkapatraihi cha samadhishtitam. It starts from ka varna to tha varna. All of these 51 varnas are divided into different different sections of the chakram. So the kadi thanta dalaihi arkapatraihi samadhishtitam tan madhye banalingam tu surya ayuta samaprabham. The jyoti swarupam that is present inside that anahata chakram is equal to surya ayuta. Ayuta is a number which is some 10,000. Please check. I forgot to check what that number is. So Ayuta Surya. It is like a koti Surya Samaprabham. It is of that, the effulgence, the light is equal to that of about koti Surya. So tat jyotihi, anahate udbhutam tat jyotihi. Now the next shloka is very important. There he says, Shabda Brahmamayam, Shabdena, Shabda Anahatam. Shabda Brahmamayam, Shabda Anahatam Tatra Drishyate. The Shabda is seen in that Anahata Chakram as Anahata, as not being vocalized. Anahatakyam Tatpadmam Unibihi Parikirtitam. This is called as Anahata Chakram. And among the Shat Chakras, this is the 4th chakra called Anahata. So Anahata Udbhutam again, in this Dvadashadala Padmam, which is in the Hridayam, and which is the Maruttattvam, from there, the Shabda that is present there is in the form of a Jyotis Swarupam. It is a Shabdaha which is in the form of a Jyotis. In Vakyapadiyam also he mentions it. I have not taken that the quotation from Vakyapadiya. You can, yeah, I forgot to write that down. So Etadeva, whereas in Kathopanishad he says Etadeva hi aksharam, which is also responsible for jnanam. That we will go to the next one, where apasta bhedam. The next adjective he uses for this Jyotis Swarupa is apasta bhedam. Only when you start vocalizing those words that there are differences of I am kantyaha, I am talavyaha, I am dantyaha, athava I am murdhanyaha. You distinguish those words as, oh, he is saying ka, he is saying e, he is saying sa, iti dantya varnaha tatra. Those sort of differences come about only when you start vocalizing it. Otherwise, what is inside is just of one form which you cannot, it is only understood. Avagati purvakam eva tatra vidyate, kintu You can't viviktataya tatra na vicharayatum yogyam asti tatra shabdasya. Apasta bhedam. In Vakyapadiyam, this is where I've taken that quote for Apasta Bedam, where there are no differences between the words. Pratyasta mita bhedayaha yad vachaha rupam uttamam yad asminneva tamasi jyotihi shuddham vivartate tad jyotihi. So as a adjective for tad jyotihi, he says apasta bedam. And the same word is used in Vakyapadiyam. Vakyapadiyam is a text written by Bhartrihari. He starts off with the first section as Brahma Kandam, where he describes the Shabda Brahma. And he says, Pratyasta mita bhedayaha. Mita bheda. Mita is parimitam. Words are only parimitam when it comes out. It still does not explain what is there inside. In Shastra Yonitvat, in Brahma Sutram, when Adi Shankara explains how variegated this prapancham is, he says, looking at this prapancham, we can say Brahman is Sarvajnaha. He has to know every species that are there in this world, and he has to know what ticks them, what makes them run. He has to know. But what we know about this world is something very limited. Mitam eva. So that parimitam, in the same way, words also, I cannot claim to say I know the entire Shabda Prapancham. What I know is probably very little. It is like, when you stand on the seashore and the waves come and hit your legs. That is all your parichayam is about the samudra. You don't know samudrasya gambhiryam na jnayate, tasya parantu kutra vidyate ityapi na jnayate pratyakshataya. Kevalam tatra sparshamatram yad anubhuyate tavadeva asmakam anubhavaha. This Shabda Prapancham that we know outside is mitam. It is very measured. Bhedam, it is also different. Oh, what he is saying is different from what they are saying. We are talking about so many differences. The language of Nilakanta Dikshita is different. The language of Apaya Dikshita is different. Even those type of differences are not present in this Jyotis Swarupam. Yad asminneva tamasi jyotihi shuddham vivartate. This entire Vak Swarupam which is outside is riddled with mitam. It is measured and there are bheda, there are differences in it. Whereas yad jyotiswarupena antarvidyate tatra bhedaha apastaha. Apastaha, you can say apasta as vigata bhedaha. Vigataha bhedaha. Kantyadi bhedaha nasti yatra jnanarupena iva vidyate antah. The next one is two ways I can use it. The first one, I use this aupayikam for both Shivasya aupayikam and as vidhatuhu adyam aupayikam. You can either take Shivasya later to nada abhidham. So there can be two interpretations here. I will look at the first interpretation, which is vidhatuhu adyam aupayikam. Vidhata Brahma yada srishtim prarabhate, when he wants to start his creation, the first object that he looks for is the Omkara. The Omkara is the representation of, it is Nada Paryayaha, and it is a representation of the Sthula, Sukshma, Karana Shariram and Turiyavastha, which is the Brahma Swarupa. So Shivas Vidhatuhu Brahmanaha Adyam Aupayikam. For that only I took the Katopanishad reference, which says Etadhyeva Aksharam Brahma, Etadhyeva Aksharam Param, Etadhyeva Aksharam Jnatva Yaha Yadichati Tasya Tat. Sarve Veda Yatpadamamananti. You can take that quotation also and understand that Omkara is the word that starts off the entire host of Vedas. And tapamsi sarvani cha yad vadanti. Everybody says that this Omkara is the tapas moolam for tapas. And yad icchanto brahmacharyam charanti tatpadam sangrahena bravimi om ityetat. That which is the prime object or prime first means of creation for Brahma. Or you can also say that it is the first word that came out of Brahma. Omkaro atashabdascha kantam ditva tasmat mangalikau ubau smritau. Brahmanaha kantam ditva, they came out because they Omkara and Atha are the two words that came out first. And hence you can say that these two are Mangala. Even if you don't write a Mangala Shlokam for anything, you can just start with Om, or you can even say Atha. That's why you have a lot of Shastras starting with Atha Shabdanuशाsanam, Atha Dharmanuशाsanam, Atha Brahma Jigyasa, Dharma Jigyasa. Iti Atha Shabdasyapi Mangalatvam Vidyate iti Karanat. Vidhatuhu Adyam Aupayikam. Aupayikam Upaya Bhutam. That which is Upaya Bhutam Aupayikam. It is a Tadhita there. So that which is Brahma's first means for creation, it is that Jyotis Swarupa. The other one is Shivasyapi Adyam Aupayikam. Shivam iti Mangalabhidam. It is a Moksha Paryaya Shabda. Shivam is Mangalam. The most ultimate auspicious thing that for any person is Moksha. Moksha is the ultimate thing that one can wish for. Not something I have to, having wealth or anything. That is not auspicious here. The most auspicious and the most dear to every person is moksha. And this Omkara or Nada becomes the, it is also the Prathamam Upaya Bhutam. Mokshasyapi Prathamam Upaya Bhutam. The ultimate Upasana. There can be different types of Upasana Marga. The next adjective is also Adhvanam Paragam, also talks about that. There can be many different upasanas, but the Omkara upasana is adopted by the sannyasis. And if you want to go into the Nirvikalpaka aspect, that too you need the Omkara. I'll quickly go through the next class. I will again go in detail about each of these things. Adhvanam, Paragam. Adhva is the different types of Upasana Margas that are there given in the Vedas. And Paragaha, Param Gacchati. One who, Param Gacchati can also mean Ante Vidyamanam. Yat Upasana Marganam api Ante Vidyate tad Jyotis Swarupam api Nadaha iti Akhyayate. It is said that is that Jyotis Swarupam which is present at the end of all the Upasana Margas. Anuttaram Uttaram Yatra Yasya na Vidyate Sarvotkrishtaya Yat Sthitam Bhavati. This Nada Jyotihi, this Shabda Brahma also is present as the ultimate thing for everybody, for beyond which that which none else can surpass. Nothing else can be better than this. This is the best. So which is the best one? Tat Jyotihi Anusmaramaha. We think of that Jyotis Swarupam. Okay. I thought I'll give some time for questions. So I didn't go through the few more of these in detail. I will do it again. So till whatever we have done, if you have any questions, please, yeah. 1 minute. Okay. Yeah. You can, Nandini Mother. You can unmute yourself.
And that in the 5th verse, anyway, it's Vyatireka Alankara only. And through this Alankara, we are getting the Guru Vishaya Ratithvani. Is it right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
It's so beautifully, that is very beautiful, the way he is expressing that. And in the same verse, that Yuna and Yuna, two things are there, no Shabda Alankara. That Yuna, the first, that Yuna is Ahankara Yukta. The meaning is that Yukta.
Yes.
And the Yuna is the youth.
Youth, Yuva.
Right?
Yuva ityasya tritiya vibhakti.
Correct, correct. And the third one in that, you were saying, no, Adrisuta is used there and Shaila Sutta is used in the second, yes. Second line. So what I was thinking is Adri is like a Rucha sound, Dra and all coming. That is for Shiva. And Shaila Sutta is so soft.
Oh, so nice.
That
is very nice. So true. Very, very true. And he also uses that as Tanor Adrisuta iti Rudrasya Tatra Smaranam Bhavete.
Yes. Thank
very
you
true.
That's all. Thank you.
Oh, that is beautiful. Nice. Okay. Arun Kumar Modya.
Madam.
Yes.
In that is Para, Pashanti, Madhyama, Vaikari. In these 4 stages, Vaikari is clear. Whatever we produce is Vaikari. Has any yogi produced and shown to us how the para and madhyama and pashyanti sounds like? Sound is nothing but a vibration. If nothing is vibrates, nothing is heard, how can we say that as sound? Instead of we can say vayu, jadaragni ahanti tam prerayati marutam. That is in Siksha, what we say is Jataragni, orders vayu to produce sound. Is that happening at the level of heart or at the level of Mooladhara or what kind of level? Is it at the level of
the sound when you say vayu? So the vayu tattvam is present in the hridayam. In Saundarya if you take the shloka 35, I think, manastvam vyomatvam marudasi marutsarathirasi. Tari manastvam vyomatvam marudasi. Marut, even in the 9th shloka, you have mahim mooladhare kamapi manipure hutavaham sthitam swadhisthane hridi marutam akasham upari. So that tattvam I didn't explain properly in the sense. So when you just as you said, the sound is vayu tattvam. What is there inside is in the prana form, and so in the hridayam it is as a vayu tattvam, that shabda. It is not shabda as such. When it becomes termed as shabda, there you go into the vishuddhi chakram. Then the vishuddhi chakram, the tattvam there is akasha tattvam. And akasha is shabda gunakam akasham. The shabda is termed as a guna for the akasha at that point. Then you move into the this thing, the vyakta sound, sthula sound. That is where you have the vaikari. Whereas para is completely in a jyoti swarupam. It is like the brahma swarupam. When you think of Brahma Swarupa, you can't explain it. Na? If you know Tamil, you would know Vindavar Kandilai, Kandavar Vendilai. The one who has seen it cannot explain it. One who explains it cannot say that he has experienced it.
No.
So this is the same as Shabda Brahma. That's all. One who has experienced the Para Shabda, Vak, Paravak, he cannot, the moment he starts trying to vocalize that paravak, it is lost. It has gone into the Vaikari range. Yeah.
So for Brahmajanis, they hear the prapancha sound and whatever is become as para, madhyama, pashyanti. Do they hear those sounds? Or what do you mean?
No, you can't hear the sound. It is only felt inside. There was
produced outside for them by them.
Not para or even pashyanti is the vibration. I made a note of that where there was a difference between pashyanti is shruti. I will get that quotation next time when I do it. Anyway, I have to. There are a couple of things left in that shloka also, so I will bring that quotation and tell you.
Sound om and atha. After these songs produced by him, then only the all Panchabhutas are produced as a prayer.
Yes.
Yes. First those two sounds, and then Panchabhutas, and then this Loka.
Yes.
And then Aushadhi, and then Prani.
So it depends. That the process of creation is very different from each this thing. Each system.
Panchabhutas are produced differently, or Panchabhutas are produced from the Om sound. How is it?
That it is depends on the tattvam, the darshanam that you are following, the siddhantam that you are following. So if it is the Srishti Prakriya as such does not talk about Omkara or Atha Shabda.
Is it?
Yes. So in the Srishti Prakriya you don't have this. So Shabda Brahma and Shabda Prapancham is completely different from the Srishti Prakriya that you talk about in Vedanta or in Sankhya Tattva. Sankhya Tattvam, they accept that Shabda is another form of the Brahma Swarupam, which is called Nada Brahmam or Shabda Brahmam. You can give a series. I am not familiar with texts which talk about the Shabda Utpatti as correlating to the Prapancha Utpatti. So there can be two different
Utpattis. So much of importance to Brahma Shabda.
Huh?
why do we have to give so much of importance to Brahma Shabda or Shabda Brahma when it is not what to say involved in the creation of this universe?
But words are also part of the creation. You need to talk about that too. Where does the word come from then?
So
where does it exist?
The importance of Om to attain Brahmajnana?
It is a Jnana Swarupam. It is, see, you'll have to look at it as parallel. This is like asking, when I can worship Shiva, why do I need Shakti here? Shabda is another method of attaining the Brahman. And the Adhisthana Bhutam there is your Shabda Brahman, which is the Omkara. Where there is no, there are no.
மேடம் இப்போ நம்ம தியானம் பண்றோம், இப்போ ஓம்கார தியானம் பண்றோம். ஓம்கார தியானம் எதுக்கு பண்றோம்? நம்ம குண்டலினி சக்தி மேல வந்து ஒவ்வொரு சக்கராவா கிராஸ் பண்ணி எல்லா சக்கராவும் பியூரிஃபை பண்ணி அது ஆங்கார சக்கரத்துக்கு வந்து மேல வரணும் இல்லையா? சரி. ஓம்கார சவுண்ட் பண்றதுனால நம்மளுடைய சக்கராஸ் எப்படி வைப்ரேட் ஆகுது? ஏன்னா
அது எனக்கு தெரியாது சார். அது எனக்கு வந்து அந்த அளவுக்கு பரிச்சயம் இல்லை. அது அவ்வளவு தூரம் எனக்கு பரிச்சயம் இல்லை சத்தியமா. எனக்கு வந்து ஓரளவுக்கு வந்து ஸ்தூலமா தெரியும். அதுக்கு மேல நீங்க வந்து இதெல்லாம் பர்சனல் எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ்ல வர வேண்டிய விஷயங்கள். ஒவ்வொரு வேர்டும் எப்படி எங்க வந்து வைப்ரேட் ஆறுதுங்கிறது வந்து அவளுடைய ஒரு பர்சனல் எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ்ல அது எப்படி ஆறுதோ நீங்க பாக்கணும்.
இல்ல நீங்க நிறைய கிரந்தாஸ் படிச்சிருக்கீங்க இல்லையா?
என்ன
குருஸோட
அப்படிலாம் இல்ல.
ஆமா ஆமா நீங்க பேசுறதே தெரியுது. இந்த அளவுக்கு நாலேஜ் இருக்கறனால நான் இது வரைக்கும் பார்த்தது இல்ல. First time hearing so much of knowledge you have to understand பண்ணவே முடியாது உங்களை. அதனால உங்களை இந்த கேள்வி கேட்டுட்டு இருக்கேன். இல்ல ரைட் தான் நீங்க கேக்குற கேள்வி சரி. எனக்கு சொல்ல தெரியல. ஏன்னா நீங்க யாராவது சொல்லிருக்கலாம், சொன்னதை கேட்டிருக்கலாம், அதுக்காக உங்களை கேக்குறேன். இல்ல கரெக்ட் தான் நீங்க கேக்குற கேள்வி ரைட். பட் எனக்கு அந்த அளவுக்கு பரிச்சயம் இல்ல. அண்ட் ஐ ஆல்சோ ஃபீல் தட் இட் இஸ் சம்திங் தட் ஹேஸ் டு கம் வித் எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் as to ஒவ்வொரு சவுண்டுக்கும் நம்ம ஆத்மாவுக்கும் பிரம்ம ஞானத்துக்கு என்ன சம்பந்தம்? இட் இஸ் தி சேம். It is the same. இப்போ ஓம்காரம்னு எடுத்துட்டோம்னா ஆ உ ம and then ஒரு ஸ்பேஸ். These three correlate to ஆ is your ஸ்தூல பிரபஞ்சம், உ is your சூக்ஷ்ம பிரபஞ்சம், ம is the காரண சரீரம் or மாயா. அதுக்கப்புறம் ஒரு ஸ்பேஸ். அந்த ஸ்பேஸ் தான் வந்து we call it as துரியம் or it is the பிரம்மஸ்வரூபா, துரியாவஸ்தா. The Turiya Avastha is your Brahmaswarupam. That is called the Shabda Brahmam also. Illa in the mottathiyume நம்ம Shabda Brahmam nu sollalam. See, the more you go into it, the more it may not seem very clear. Yena, you go into the experiential level more than the vocalizing level. பேசுறது ரொம்ப சுலபம், சும்மா இருத்தல் அரிதுன்னர். இவர் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா ராமலிங்க அடிகளார் வந்து சொல்லும் பொழுது அது என்ன ஜலமேல் நடக்கலாம், கனல் மேல் இருக்கலாம், சும்மா இருத்தல் அரிதுன்னர். Staying quiet and experiencing these things is much more difficult than vocalizing things. So as you try to explain, you are going into the experiencing level. அது எப்படி, how can you vocalize it? அதனால சொல்றேன். மந்திர ஜப தீட்சை வாங்கினால ஓம் சேர்த்துக்கறாங்க. ஓம் சேர்த்துட்டா அப்புறம் என்ன நாமமோ அந்த நாம தராங்க இல்லையா? அதனால ஆமா ஆமா ஆமா. Sir, Raman sir, yeah, I think you have a yes.
The thing, the way to look at all these things is everything has an unmanifest thing, form. And வெளிப்பாடுன்னு வரும்போதுதான் கேரியர்ஸ் வேண்டி இருக்கு. கேரியர்ஸ் இல்லாம வெளிப்பாடு இல்லை. So Shabdam is present. Shabdam is actually knowledge present in an unmanifest form, and carrier, sound, waves, vayu, etc., and other objects have their they aid in the transformation of that knowledge into something objectifiable. So
yes.
நான் வந்து ஸ்பீச் தெரபிஸ்ட். இப்போ லாங்குவேஜ் அண்ட் ஸ்பீச் ப்ரொடக்ஷன் வந்தாலே இப்போ வெஸ்டர்ன் லிட்டரேச்சர் எடுத்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா ஒன்லி ஆர்டிகுலேஷன் அண்ட் ஸ்பீச் ப்ரொடக்ஷன் மட்டும் தான் இருக்கும். இந்த பரா மத்தியமா வை இது அது எல்லாமே சமஸ்கிருதத்துல முதல் முறை நான் கேட்கிறேன்.
I will try to get that quotation next time to just give you a definition of what those four are. I will do that. There is one more question that I have to address. Sri Devi Bhagavatasya Shlokanam Vivaranam Kasmin Skande iti jignasa asti. 1 minute. I will just say that. Devi Bhagavatasya Saptama Kande 35th Adhyaya. The shlokas are 39, 40 and 41. Though actually in the 35th Adhyayam you have a description of the different chakras. So you can look at that. It is in the 7th Kanda. Yeah. Any...
There is the Vacharambanam Namadeyam solittu.
Vacharambanam Namadeyo Mritiketyeva Satyam.
Ade and the Upanishad may come.
Correct. Vak arambhanam tu, then you go into the vocalization which is outside. When you go into the adhishtanam, which is your truth, which is the mritika ityeva satyam. That is your truth. Neelakantan Modya? Yeah.
I was just going to add that in talk of Shabda Brahma, and I think Sri Raja mentioned also the Vacharambanam Namadeyam. All creation is essentially Shabda. That's how it is looked at, right? In Advaita Siddhanta, at least. The clay is the reality, and everything else, all things made of clay are just, namas and rupa.
Yes.
So, seems Shabda, it's also the other thing that I was thinking of. Shabda is considered eternal, that it's only when it comes out, then we have a word, but it's never that it's created fresh at that point. It's always present. So that's one of the things that they used to say, how Vedas are eternal.
Yeah, it is a manifestation. The Vedas, so you never say Vedas were created. Tatra apaurusheyatvam Vedanam. You don't say it is paurusheyam. It is not something which is created, but it is manifested. Abhivyakti eva. So the Vedas go and merge into the Lord, and then he gives that knowledge to Brahma.
And words, any word that is expressed, it is never just expressed as a word. It's already associated with a meaning.
Yeah.
You can never, so it seems like any word that we can coin, it's mind-boggling to me that you can say, if you made some absurd sound, then it's not a word, because if it's not associated with the meaning, and so if you come up with a word for any object, that word already existed with the meaning.
Yes.
Yes.
That's true, because the meaning of it, you also look at it as artha, as the object itself. Artha need not necessarily mean you are still in the Shabda realm when you give the paryayavachi or a synonym or a meaning to it. The meaning is actually the object, so there is it points out to something else. So that object already exists. You are only probably giving it a samjna, and that samjna already exists in the mind as a vasana in some way or the other. Right? Thank you. I think there are no more questions. So, yes, Omkara Dhyana is only for sannyasis. I will talk about this again during the next class. We've still not finished with that shloka. I will continue with that shloka. Thank you. Namaste.